Hey guys, so here in this video, I wanted to mainly go over sort of understanding how to approach your primary days versus secondary days, tertiary days, etc., in powerlifting. So right here, you're seeing sort of my secondary day squats, and so just so you guys understand, in typical DUP or daily undulating periodization setup, you're going to have three main days. One's going to be a strength day, the other is going to be a hypertrophy day, or a power-based slash technique day as a third. These are also referred to as like a primary or secondary or tertiary session, basically stressing the importance of them. And so understanding how to approach each of these training days is really, really important in regards to knowing how to, approach them on in terms of mental mindset and expectations on each day. So on a strength-based day, that is going to be the main stimulus for strength is going to be intensity. So we're trying to make sure that our top set on that day, usually there's going to be a top set down set approach in most modern powerlifting programs. We want to make sure that top set is as strong as we possibly can. We basically want to be peaked every single week on that primary day. And then down sets after that, they still do matter, but it's more so like just to get you some extra volume without, making you too fatigued relative to the stimulus. So that's essentially a primary day purpose. A secondary purpose or a hypertrophy day purpose is essentially going to be a little bit higher volume, a little bit higher reps, basically working on the more the secondary characteristics of strength, such as work capacity and muscle size, which are both important. With work capacity, basically will allow you to recover from more volume, and hypertrophy will allow you to basically increase your strength ceiling, assuming you are training relatively heavy. So typically on these days, you're going to have higher reps, a little bit lower intensity than the primary based day. And then on a more of a technique day or power day, we're just trying to like move fast and or work on some sort of technical deficiency. Usually this is the lowest volume of all 3 days. Typically also tends to be the lightest just because we want to make sure that we are, again, primary day, we want to be strongest on that day, so we want to be training the heaviest on that day. So in regards to knowing how to approach each of these training days, we want to understand that the day that really matters is the primary day, and everything else that we're doing around that is we're trying to essentially peak that primary day. So we care a lot about our ceiling and our top set, like I said, on our strength-based days. So really focus on that. However, on more of your secondary, tertiary days, etc., your hypertrophy and power days, we're just kind of trying to just raise our baseline. So we are less concerned about how strong we are on those days and more concerned about just raising that baseline of performance. Because if the baseline rises, then in theory, if the training stimulus is correct, then your primary day should feel very, very strong. Some people get really fatigued from their primary days and just have a pretty big discrepancy between their primary days, secondary days, and tertiary days, and that's okay. We want to mainly make sure we are hitting the RPE and not exceeding them, and then focusing on what matters the most, which is just going to be, raising our floor so that our ceiling can be highest on the days that it matters the most. So that is a mindset that I think just understanding is really important because then you're going to have, be more willing to, accept why you don't feel as strong on like your secondary day or your tertiary day and your primary day because you're not supposed to. Those are not supposed to be the most strong days, and we're just basically trying to get some sort of overload to basically accentuate other characteristics of strength while others recover. So, for example, if you're training a little bit lighter with a little bit more volume, you're taxing more of your cardiovascular system and your muscular system. While your nervous system, although it is still getting used, it's getting used a little bit less in comparison to the muscular and cardiovascular systems. So then your nervous system will be a little bit more recovered in time. This is why, like, if you send it randomly on like a secondary day or you go too heavy, you tend to not be able to be as strong on your primary day. There tend to be like overlapping issues with fatigue because you're not allowing for these other energy systems to recover. Because the reason why DUP tends to be better for powerlifters past the beginner stage is because you are able to train multiple energy systems in 1 week and get some sort of productive overload stimulus because your recovery time course from a harder strength training session becomes longer. When you're a beginner, you can do like a linear periodization 5x5, etc., and don't really have to worry about this undulation in volume or in intensity because you just don't have the capacity to damage yourself as much. So that's why essentially why we have DUP, so we can overload different energy systems, different subsystems of strength, and really be able to make progress and hopefully come in strongest on the days that matter most, and really be able to also like prevent injury if you're programming correctly. Because if you're able to modify volume and intensity correctly, you should be able to mitigate or be able to very easily manage any injuries that you might come across. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you guys have any questions about what I said, just ask down below. And then if you guys are interested in coaching or programming, just go to adampeterfitness.com or my Instagram or down below. There's an application for coaching. So talk to you guys in the next one.